Hey, I'm so glad you are here with me. Today, we're talking about one of the most requested topics that I get. It's all about self control. It happens to be our character trait for July. So, if you are using it the summer of playing skillfully, this is for you. And if you're not, you're still going to benefit from what we talk about today. Let's say this: you're heading out, it's a beautiful sunny day, and all of a sudden your toddler walks out in their rain boots and their umbrella and they're ready to go, and you're thinking, okay, it's summer, it's hot, it's sunny, those rain boots are going to be hot. And yet your toddler is determined. And when you suggest something else, they melt down. Or maybe it's your young preschooler. Maybe they're just turning in and they're turning 3. And so they're still learning, understanding, sharing, and they know it is their turn to play with that toy, even though their sibling has it. So they go up and grab it away and everything falls apart, right? These are the things we're going to talk about today. And listen, I want to be clear from the get go. There's a lot of different beliefs on this. There's a lot of different beliefs on parenting and discipline and how to teach self control. And so if you are coming here hoping you're going to get advice on, I want my kids to obey the first time, I want my kids to just do what I say, I'm not your girl. I have raised a lot of kids and I did not parent that way. While I do want my children to obey when I ask them to do something, it is because we have that relationship. We've built that. It is because I want them to trust me because I am their mom and I am looking out for what's best for them. We want them to internally understand that struggle and why they should make that decision, not just have this outward obedience. Because what this quick outward obedience that a culture has really kind of pushed on children, man, we are seeing it backfire as these children turn into adults. And so I want to encourage you just to think about that, just to listen to this. Even if this isn't maybe what you'd hoped you would get because you're that first time obedience camp, listen to what we're going to talk about today, because I really do believe you're going to benefit from what we say. Young children, their brains are growing at a rapid rate. And I love the whole concept of the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. I don't know if you've heard that mentioned, but that upstairs brain, that's the decision making. That's that prefrontal cortex that we talk about isn't developed until they're 25. That's the part where they're thinking and they're making decisions, and that's the processing part. The downstairs part of the brain, that's all the quick decision, the impulse control, that's the emotional regulation. And so what happens is this part of the brain is going so much faster than this part of the brain. And this one's not developed yet, but this one is growing and growing so quickly that we have things like impulse control issues, tantrums, losing their junk over a toy being taken, or you asking them to pick up their toys, or the meltdowns. All of that is so developmentally normal because that part of the brain is really growing quicker than this part of the brain. So they can't quite understand that. It's not that your kids are really intentionally trying to give you a hard time. They're truly having a hard time. They're having a hard time trying to understand these big feelings that they have. And then when we just shut them down because we demand first time obedience, we aren't giving them time to process those big emotions. We literally just shut it down. I don't know if any of you are stuffers. I think we create stuffers, honestly. I think we tell children, hey, get over it, stop the tears. You need to obey me. I don't want to hear that. And what does that teach children to do? Stuff those big emotions. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they were lonely. Maybe they were hungry. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they were frustrated. And yet none of that came out because they were told, stop it, obey me, and move on. So then we create children who develop coping skills in an unhealthy manner. They turn to devices because that fills their cup. They turn to food because that fills their cup. We have to be careful when we just shut it down in the name of obedience. I know if you're listening to this, it's your goal is to do the best thing for your children, to do what's not just right, but what's best for them cognitively, but also what's best for them socially and emotionally, because it all matters. We have got to work on developing the whole child. That is the very reason we put character traits in a year of playing skillfully and the summer of playing skillfully, because we wanted to encourage you to be intentional about this. And self control starts off just like every other character trait we talk about. It's modeling so often. You need to ask yourself, do you have self-control? Can you keep it together when things don't go your way? Can you wait for something? Can you delay gratification? Can you show your children and model that when someone pulls out in front of you, you've got the self-control not to slam the horn or give them all kinds of gestures? Sometimes that's hard. I'm imperfect. I definitely have lost my control. I don't always have self control when it comes to things. I have struggles. That's being human. And I think you be honest about that with your children. I'm not asking you to be perfect in front of your children, but I am reminding you that the greatest teacher is modeling. What you do is so much more powerful than what you say. So many kids struggle with that. They're like, yeah, my dad is this and that, and my mom is this and that. But at home, they're this and that. And I really see this and I really see that. And be who you are. Like, and if you're going to be that at home, be that everywhere. At least your kid will see you being honest instead of seeing two sides of the coin. So be who you are and show them. And then I think after you focus on modeling, I want to ask you about your expectations. What truly do you expect from your 2-year-old who doesn't understand sharing, who doesn't have the ability to sit and wait? Make sure your expectations are developmentally appropriate. And if you don't know what is developmentally appropriate for your child, there's so many resources out there available to you. I recommend naeyc.org. They even have a book called Developmentally Appropriate Practices written for child development teachers, but it's also good for parents. There's an old book called Ages and Stages by Karen Miller. It's so helpful. And I'm sure there's many more new ones that you can look and find. What are developmental ages and stages? And that gives you a guideline to understand that, listen, in those toddler years, they don't understand big instructions. So keep your expectations small. Give them one thing to do at a time. Keep it short. Don't expect them to sit for long periods of time. Don't expect them to share. Their brain does not understand that concept. They don't get sharing until closer to 3, sometimes 3.5 before they can understand you're going to have a turn, then I'm going to have a turn. So make sure you have expectations of that. And ask yourself, is it that I want my kids to have that outward control, or do I want them to have the inward ability to say, I can control my anger. I can control my frustration. I can control my impatience. That's what we're trying to do. We really are working on the internal. We really are working on, I want when my kids leave me that they can wait at a red light, that they can follow instructions from a boss, that they can be kind to their coworkers and their spouse. They have the ability to do that because we started at a young age working on that self control. Then, when they're watching a sports game, and listen, we have sports fans in our home and it gets intense. Most of them are Georgia Bulldog fans, and it gets intense when they're watching a sporting event. And sometimes some have lost their self control, but we work on that. We still work on that. And my hope is now that they're all adults, they can watch a game without losing their junk because we were honest and talked about that. So you have to ask yourself, do I want compliance? And some parents, that's all they want. They want compliance. They want their kid to obey. They want them to go out and obey first time. I remember speaking at a conference recently, and there was a mom and her child was wanting to explore the snow that I had there. And there was no warning. Hey, we're going to leave in 5 minutes. Hey, we're going to head out soon. It was, we're leaving now. And this child was so engaged in play. We're leaving now, and you're going to get in serious trouble if you don't obey me the first time. We're setting our kids up for failure with that. We really are. Kids need preparation. Would you like that? Would you like when you are in the middle of either watching your favorite show, or maybe you're like cross stitching, or maybe you're painting, but you're in the middle of it. You're in the middle. And someone walks up and says, hey, we're leaving right this minute. And if you don't get up and head out with me, and you're like, wait, you're just trying to process what is happening. And there's going to be a problem if you don't obey me right now. Man, I wouldn't like that. And yet we expect, because we're over authority over these children, we expect them just to come in and compliance over true self-control. Which is it that you really want? I want children who learn self-control. So if that's what you want as well, let's talk about, how do you do that? How do you do that developmentally appropriately? How do you do that? You don't have to call it gentle parenting. Listen, I parented that way. It would have been labeled gentle parenting probably, even though it wasn't always gentle. but it's developmental. I try to parent where my kids were and where they are even now as they're moving into adulthood, and some are already fully launched. I still try to treat it where they are developmentally. How much do they need me? How much do I pull away? How much do I lean in? That's what I've done my whole parenting journey. First thing I'm going to say, what I always say, connection before correction. Think about that. If you can just be curious about the situation before you react, which is so difficult when those blow ups happen. It's so difficult to catch your breath because I don't know about you, but I get heightened the minute they get heightened and they're dysregulated. It's real easy for me to get dysregulated. So it might need to be that you have your own coping skills. When you see dysregulation happening or coming, that you know, okay, I'm going to take some breaths. I'm going to walk outside for a minute before I even deal with this. But you have to make sure you're regulated because if not, you're going to jump in that pile of dysregulation and join in the chaos. So think connection before correction. Get curious before you jump in. What does that look like? That looks like not only you having your own coping skills, but also you recognizing that behavior is communication. And so what is going on behind that behavior? Someone just hit someone and you're like, what are you doing? Give me that toy. Nobody's going to have that toy. Well, maybe you say, oh, wow, I see that really upset you. How do you make that better? How can we fix this situation? You get them involved in the resolution. And that's what problem solving skills really are developed. You get them involved. Think, how can I work on this together? How can they see that I'm with them and for them? Recognize, hey, I see you're upset. I see you're angry. I see you're tired. I see you're frustrated. And then boundaries. Listen, gentle parenting is not permissive parenting. It's not, I see you're upset and golly, you're going to hit me because you're upset. And gosh, I'm going to be gentle about it. No way. That is not what this is. This is, hey, I see that you're very upset. You may not hit your brother when you're upset, but there is a pillow over there that you can punch until you can't punch anymore. Or I have some magazines that you can rip and rip and rip and rip. Or you know that cozy corner we sit over there with some good music that I have? You can just put in those headphones, get an old iPod, old school, get a tape recorder and some cassette tapes, whatever it is. Or some books, or some Legos, some silly putty, some things that can calm them in the cozy corner. Maybe not a timeout, but hey, there's a place you can go. And when you're ready, come back and we'll figure this out together. But those big emotions, you can get them out. You may not do it by hurting your brother, breaking popsicle sticks. Put some big jumbo popsicle sticks in their cozy corner. So set some boundaries. Boundaries are good. Again, this is not permissive parenting, but this is helping them understand self-control. And when you have control of your body, come back and I'm going to help you work this out. That helps everyone stay calm in the moment. It also shows empathy and it validates their feelings. Man, nothing is worse than when you feel as if someone doesn't validate your feelings. I remember telling my dad something very scary, very personal. It was a traumatic event in my life. And my dad looked at me and said, wish you wouldn't have told me that. I was a grown woman when I shared that information, and yet I felt as if my feelings were not validated. It makes a difference if we don't validate their feelings. And you're like, they're children. They need to obey. They need to get over their feelings. They don't. Feelings are normal. And usually our kids that have the biggest outbursts and the biggest anger issues, it's because they have the biggest feelings and emotions. They're big-hearted people, destined to do great things, I believe, if we can help encourage them to have appropriate coping skills for those big emotions. So often it's just that kids that feel deeply that don't know what to do. And if we shut them down and don't validate that, often that leads to more and more anger issues. So definitely validate and empathize. Set clear boundaries. Model self-control. So important. One of the best things I think we can do for young children to help them on this journey of self-control is to give them real choices. So many parents are like, well, I gave them a choice. I told them they could clean up their room now or they were going to get a spanking. Children need real choices. They need real choices. So how do you give that child a real choice? Here's 3 outfits. You can pick one of those 3 outfits. If it's not a special event, you're just going to the grocery store, let them pick whatever they want to wear. Who cares what they wear if they wear their rubber boots on a sunny day? Who cares? Now, I would say, hey, grab your sandals and throw them in the bag too, and then move on. Just keep it matter of fact. You give them choices as often as you can. What do you want? What do you want for lunch? You need a protein source, you need a vegetable source, you need a fruit source, you need a carb source. You pick. What's our protein source? Let's go look. We have protein. Oh, we have some turkey. We have some chicken nuggets. We have some eggs. Okay, we have that. And what do we have for our fruit choices? We have some bananas, we have some apples, and we have some grapes. You can go pick. Let them have that. It gives children so much power when they get to make real choices. So offer real choices. I would say lastly, be consistent in whatever you do. Kids need a routine. They need to know what to expect. And so many meltdowns happen because we didn't do that necessary thing to keep it consistent in the routine. So we might say, well, maybe you have to be somewhere earlier than normal. Maybe go to a co-op. And this week you have to be there an hour earlier. There's no preparation. You didn't do anything the night before to get ready. Now you've gotten up in the morning and you're frantic because you have to be there an hour earlier. The kids are still kind of expecting to wake up at the same time and it's chaos. And then you get angry at them for not being ready to leave early. In reality, we've got to take some ownership and do some things to help make that situation better, set it up for success instead of failure. So often I know when my kids would get in the most trouble or their most meltdowns was because I didn't do what I was necessary to get things ready in the home to help prepare them to get out the door on time. And that's when I would lose it often on them. So self-control is something we want them to internally develop. It isn't self-control in the sense of outward obedience. That shouldn't be our goal. Yes, we want people that obey, but why? Because internally they understand that they can wait. They're still going to get their turn. That they can, when you say it's time, you've given them that heads up. Hey, in 5 minutes, we're heading out. 3 minutes, we're heading out. Grab your shoes, we're heading out. That helps prepare their brain, and that impulse control is normal. Big feelings are normal. Their brain is growing rapidly, their emotions even quicker. They need help in regulation. They need support in regulation. They need boundaries to help them regulate. They need coping skills to help them regulate. And you need to model self control and self regulation. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's helped. We have got next episode is going to be a powerful one. If you know anyone who has lost a child, have them tune in. I have a special guest who shares her organization of how she helps mothers who are grieving. So don't miss that. Also, the newest edition of A Year of Playing Skillfully is out. So excited. We worked on it for a long time. We added some more detailed instructions. We added an intro section that helps you schedule your day, set up your day, how to use the curriculum, a guide for that. We've also added a faith guide on the website that you can get for free. It is something that if you want to teach that in your home, you can do that. We've also added a co-op guide. So if you are in a co-op and you want to use a year of playing skillfully, I show you how to do that. Both of those are free resources through the store. We're going to have a big sale coming up, back to play sale as we always do. It's going to be the biggest one we've ever had. So if you're interested in getting the newest edition, look out for that in the next week or so. Thanks so much for listening. Keep playing.